So we are recording for the Chapter 2 review for algebra. If you are watching this, you can be watching this with the sub or at home and know how to do the problems. So it says many of the answers may be improper fractions, so give your answer in improper fractions. Don't be afraid of the fact that it's improper fractions, because I was just quickly making up equations. So the first section here is just solving equations. So for equation number 1, we're going to add 18 to both sides. And remember, you have to show that work. Negative 6 plus 18 is positive 12. I'm going to try and make this a little bit thinner. So that's the answer for number 1. For number 2, you would divide both sides by 5, n equals 11. For number 3, yes, everybody's favorite game, clear that fraction. I'm going to multiply both terms by 5 because this has a denominator of 5. 5 times 3 is 15, divided by 5 is 3x. We've also talked in class about the fact that you'll start to notice that when the numerator and the denominator are the same, they cancel each other out. Don't forget to multiply the 5 by the other term. So 5 times 10 is 50. I divide both sides by 3, and x equals 50 over 3. I said in the directions, if you get an improper fraction, leave it as an improper fraction. For number 4, we're going to subtract 3 on both sides. 5 minus 3 is 2. So bring down the 2t. 2t equals 2. So t equals 1. Because if I divide both sides by 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1. Number 5 is our first problem where we have a variable on both sides of the equation. So I always tell the class to subtract or get rid of the variable term that has the smaller coefficient, which means the smaller number in front of the variable. This is like a little invisible 1. I'm going to subtract t from both sides. I get 5t minus 6 equals negative 2. Okay, so when I have two-step equation, I always get rid of the term that does not have the variable first. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. I need to see this work. Negative 2 plus 6 is 4. When I divide both sides by 5, those cancel out, and t equals 4/5. For this problem here, there's distribution that I have to do before I can get rid of variables on either side. So I'm going to multiply. 3 times t is 3t. And 3 times 1 is 3, equals 2t minus 1. So I said I get rid of the term with the variable that has the smaller coefficient, the smaller number in front of the variable. So I subtract the 2t from both sides. 3t minus 2t equals just 1t, plus 3 equals negative 1. I subtract 3 from both sides, and t equals negative 4. So for problem 7, we need to distribute on both sides of the equation. 7 times g is 7g. 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. We also need to bring down this plus g. 3 times g is 3g. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. On this side of the equation, I'm going to combine like terms. 7g and g makes 8g. Bring down the minus 14 equals 3g minus 12. So now I say when you're solving With variables on both sides, you first want to get rid of the term with the variable that has the smaller coefficient, the smaller number in front of the g. 8g minus 3g is 5g minus 14 equals negative 12. I can now add 14 to both sides. 5g equals negative 12 plus 14 is 2. So g equals 2/5. For number 8, evaluate means solve. And we're plugging in 3 for b. So 2 times 3, that's our substitution, minus 5, absolute value bars plus 1. 2 times 3, this is an absolute value bar, 2 times 3 is 6, minus 5, absolute value bar plus 1. 6 minus 5 is 1. The absolute value of 1 is 1 plus 1 equals 2. Changing the color here. For the next problem, 5 minus absolute value bar, negative 4. For x, I am substituting in negative 2. Minus 3, absolute value bar. 5 minus the absolute value of negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. Minus 3. 8 minus 3 is 5. The absolute value of 5 is 5. 5 minus 5 equals 0. For the next set of problems, I need to solve an absolute value equation. That means once I have what's in the absolute value bars, I need to set this to two equations. C minus 5 could equal 8, because the absolute value of 8 is 8. Or C minus 5 could equal negative 8, because if what's in here is negative 8, the absolute value of negative 8 would be 8. So I have two equations. To solve this one, I add 5 to both sides. C equals 8 plus 5 is 13. On this equation, I would add 5 to both sides also, but instead of starting with 8, starting with negative 8, negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. So C could equal 13, or C could equal negative 3. For this one, 2x minus 2 could equal 30, or 2x minus 2 could equal negative 30. If I add 2 to both sides here, 2x equals 32. I divide by 2, and x equals 16. On the other one, I add 2 again to both sides, but I started with negative 30. So negative 30 plus 2 is negative 28. If I divide both sides by 2, negative 28 divided by 2 is 14. Moving on. Show and write that the ratios are proportional or not proportional. So for this, I'm going to do the cross multiplication. 7 times 12 is 84. And 2 times 42 is 84. So when it says show, that's the showing. And it says write, that's the writing. So you need the 84 equals 84 and the word proportional. For the next one, and it doesn't matter which ones you do first, this one I'm going to do 3.5 times 6 is 21. And 1.2 times 15.3 is 18.36. So basically, I'm multiplying one numerator and one denominator times each other. Those are not the same. They do not equal each other. So I'm showing and I'm writing. For the next group, solve. So I'm cross multiplying. 32 times x is 32x. 5 times 7 is 35. I divide 35 by 32. It said at the beginning, show your answers as improper fractions. That is the correct answer. 35 over 32. This cannot be reduced. For the next problem, 6 times 10 is 60. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 4 is 8. I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. 60 minus 8 is 52 equals 2x, and 52 divided by 2 is 26. So x equals 26. So far we've gotten through 15 problems. You should not have a problem with any of these. 16 and 17 get a little more complicated, but these are easier types of problems than what we had in class. We want to solve for a. This is a literal equation. I have more than one variable here. I actually have 3 variables. I want the a by itself. So I'm going to rewrite the equation for a moment. So when we have two-step equations, we keep having multiplication and division or addition and subtraction. And when we have this, we've been getting rid of whatever number is here, we've been getting rid of that first. So we've been adding 8 to both sides. Now, in the past, this would be a number. So a number plus 8, and we could come up with a new number. We don't know, though, what b is worth. So all we can write is b plus 8. The ax is the same. Now what we did was we divided both sides by a. In the past, we would have been dividing both sides by a number, but still, the a's cancel out, and you get x equals b plus 8 divided by a. Again, if we had had numbers, we would have added this together and had a new number. We don't have that, so we have to write it as b plus 8. And in the past, we would have had a number here, we would have divided by another number, and we would have had an answer. We can't do that until we have values. And I just realized it said solve for a. Maybe you caught this. So, since it said solve for a, we would have divided both sides by x. So b plus 8 divided by x is equal to a. For this one, y equals mx plus b, solve for x. So I'm going to do the same type of thing. I'm going to first get rid of this b term because it's not what is attached to the variable. Y minus b equals mx. I want x by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by m. I get y minus b divided by m. If I divided by m here, these would cancel out. Equals x. So those problems are a little bit more difficult, but not nearly as difficult as the homework we had for this lesson. Next problem. A number is added to 12. The result is then multiplied by 4 to give a new number of 84. So we have a number. We added 12. Whatever we get there is going to be multiplied by 4. And we're going to get 84. So now we can solve this. 4 times n is 4n. 4 times 12 is 48. So we first had to be able to write an equation. Again, the number is added to 12. That's magic boxes format. That's what I've told you to do. Put your addition or subtraction after the variable. This whole thing is multiplied by 4. So 84 minus 48 is 36. So if 4n equals 36, n equals 9. A baseball costs $6 and there is 5% sales tax. What is the total price? So the baseball is $6. 5% as a decimal is 0.05. So I'm going to take the $6 times it by 0.05. And the tax is 0.3, or 30 cents. So know that $6 baseball plus, putting my 3 in the wrong place, plus 30 cents. And this is the baseball. This is the tax. $6.30. And that's the answer. Here's your dimensional analysis problem, which I hate. Hate these. Convert 567,892 seconds into years. So first, I'm going to fix this into minutes. So if I divide by 60, 567,892 divided by 60. You have to keep track of what you're doing. Is 9,464.8666 minutes. And if I divide this by 60 again, it's going to give me the hours. Okay? Now I have to convert this to days. There's 24 hours in a day. And I didn't put something in right. It was 157.74777777. That's why you write down what you're doing. Divided by 24 is 6.57284 days. I feel like I did something wrong, so I want to check that again. 892 divided by 60 minutes. Sorry, into minutes, divided by 60 into hours, divided by 24 into days. Okay, that's only 6.57284 days. Divided by 365 days in a year, so it's basically 0.018 of a year, or almost 2%. That is your only dimensional analysis problem on the test. Next one, this is a little bit easier. It's like a breath of fresh air. New minus original divided by original. And the new is 15. The original is 10 divided by 10. 15 minus 10 is 5. Over 10 is 1/2. And as a percent, that's 50%. If you did it in the calculator, 5 divided by 10 is 0.5. You would move the decimal 2 spaces and get 50%. The next problem is in Death Valley, California. The lowest ground temperature recorded was -10 degrees Celsius. This is the formula for converting. You don't even have to figure out the formula. All you're doing is plugging in the -10 for Celsius, okay? So you can clear the fraction. Since this is going to be multiplied by 5/9, you can multiply everything by 9/1. 9 times 10 is -90. Okay? These are going to cancel out, and you're going to get 5f minus 32. I know this is a little confusing here. You don't actually have to distribute this. Okay? Since this is all being multiplied by 5/9, you can simplify this fraction and then distribute. So you get -90 equals 5f minus 32 times 5 is 160. You would now add 160 to both sides. 90 plus 160 is positive 70 equals 5 degrees Fahrenheit. 70 divided by 5 is 14. And I lied. We do have one more dimensional analysis problem. So we looked it up, and there are 16 cups in a gallon. So if he drank 3 gallons of milk every 9 days, 3 divided by 9, he drank 0.33 or 1/3 gallon every day. And 16 divided by 3, oh, we don't want a repeating decimal. 16 cups divided by 3, he drank 16/3 cups every day.